episode 358 of Global from Asia podcast, and we're hiring a Chinese team member without having a Chinese company. It's a topic. This is the legal way of doing that. So let's tune in today. Plus, it's going to be a new format of the show and some changes and some updates as well. So stay tuned for the whole episode. Let's do this.
Welcome to the Global from Asia podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight-up, actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
Episode 358 of Global from Asia. I am here in Shenzhen, China. Actually, at my buddy's apartment. Dave, thank you, Dave. Sometimes listen to these. This show, I think you registered for the webinar. I don't know if I saw you there, Dave. So maybe you're listening to this recording. All right. Well, we're getting up to the numbers. We're getting towards the end of the summer, and this is a very timely episode because people can't get into China. People can't even open up a company in China. People maybe want to have some less risk or less upfront investment in their China business. Maybe they want to hire Chinese people to help them the legal way, and they don't want to open up a company, fly here, try to open a bank, or try to mail documents back and forth, etc., etc. So Giacomo's here, and this show, I'm in an apartment right now. I'm in my kind of comfort zone, but I went out of my comfort zone today in the show that you're going to see. I was in a live streaming studio office in Nanshan District High Tech Park in Shenzhen, and they're encouraging me to spend more time there, do more content there, etc., etc. Maybe I'm a rent-a-white guy. I don't know. Sometimes I can't tell. Am I a rent-a-white guy, or am I like a business reason to be there? Maybe it's a mix of both. Maybe I'm a 2-for-1. Anyway, I did it, and it was a lot of fun, actually. And Rose, one of our amazing members in the community, GFA VIP, and she is always supportive of our events. You might have met her at some of our cross-border summits and our cross-border matchmakers over the years. So it's really great to have her with me on the show with Giacomo doing this discussion. And please give me your feedback. This is audio still, but it's video and it's live, and we're going to be upgrading more and more. So after the show, I'll talk a little bit about my recent week and a half in Shenzhen, some other things, maybe some future ways of doing this content in the future. And the URL, globalfromasia.com/no company. How about that? No company. N-O company. No company. Let's do it today. Boom. Thank you to our ongoing GFA partner sponsored level, Mercury.com. Travis Price, his BD there, and an e-commerce seller himself, coming to some of our events, supporting what we do. Really appreciate keeping this show rolling even through the rough times of the COVID, and their sponsorship has supported the show, and it's a great sponsor, a great service. We use it for a couple of our different businesses that we're invested in for U.S. bank accounts without having to go there, without having 100% U.S. partner ownership. You can do this, and it's totally free, no applications. I don't even know how they make money, to be honest. I mean, everything is free, but they even give you some cash bonus, as well as me, if you hit certain criteria, if you use our link, globalfromasia.com/Mercury for more. Check them out, give them a shot. Even why not have a second bank if you already have one? Let's do this. Thank you, everybody, live from Shenzhen, China, and we're always learning new things. As some of you know, I've just returned to Shenzhen about a week ago, and we're trying something new. We're in a live studio building or floor. There's all these live streaming rooms, and there's doing like TikToks and Douyins and video recordings and all kinds of stuff. So of course thanks Mina, thank you Andy, great. So we're doing this live, and it seems so far, I don't know, we have with us Rose with us today. Thanks for joining, Rose.
Hi everybody, this is Rose. I'm super excited to be here with Mike.
Yeah,
this is my first time doing a GFA live streaming. So super excited.
It's really awesome. And I think there's going to be a lot more to come from here. Thank you, James from Zocus and his team, for inviting us to this location to do this today. It's a really great idea to do this. And we have a great presentation today. Giacomo Verde. He is the digital marketing manager at HR1 in Shanghai. And we've been talking for the last 1 month or so preparing for this. Also LJ on our team and Stephanie and our GFA team making this happen behind the scenes that are here today. Talking about a topic that I think a lot of you will enjoy, especially nowadays with COVID. Traveling is almost impossible, right? Andy here, Amazon advocate, could attest he was in quarantine for like a month straight, I think, trying to travel between Taiwan and Singapore. 5 weeks. So yeah, I mean, we can't travel, right? So today, Giacomo is going to share an interesting way of a PEO. We'll learn what that is and hiring people in China, employees in China without having to have a company. So I think this is a hot topic always because opening a company in China is a huge investment of time and money. And we're going to learn a lot about that today. Also, just as you can see on the screen, we're going to have a mastermind after for members of GFA VIP. So if you're in our mastermind, our private membership, stick around afterwards for a roundtable with a small group. If you're interested to learn more about that, GFAVIP.com. So how are you feeling today, Giacomo? Are you excited? I know you've been working hard on the presentation.
Good. Very good. Thank you for the introduction, Mike. Yeah, very excited to be here, actually. And it's a great opportunity to share something new to the audience. And maybe, a lot of people don't know because usually company formation is quite common. But what is PO? A lot of people usually ask this question, what is PO? What is PO? And that's why we prepared this presentation to explain a little bit more about this concept and is a kind of a solution for companies.
Perfect. So I think we want to go to the next slide, right? I don't have a screen in front of me. So here's the name topic, avoiding uncertainties and risks when building a business in China, right? So how a PEO or EOR company can help you hire employees within China without setting up a company. I mean, a lot of times people know, the acronym that I know is WFOE, which is wholly foreign-owned entity, or there's other ones like rep office people have heard about. I'm even not too familiar with the PEO or EOR, so that's even new for me. So I'm really excited to dive into this today. And is there any parts on Giacomo you'd like to say at this slide?
Yeah, well, this is just the introduction. What I want to explain actually in this webinar is more about the current risks that there are in China and challenges. And now actually the PEO can help you to overcome these challenges and to, kind of enter China in a different way, not the usual way that is more expensive and more risky. So yeah, that's basically the topic of the webinar.
Perfect. I mean, literally, I'm helping a company now in China doing some Amazon aggregation, and they're opening up a WFOE, and it's a real big hassle because they can't come to China. They can't come here, right? They can't. Normally, we would fly in, get some jiaozi, some dumplings. Hey, Zach's here. Thanks for coming. Get some dumplings, baijiu. James would take them around and sign some documents, go to some banks, but you can't do that now. I mean, as much as we love this, we can't do this. So I'm really excited to hear some other alternatives for that. So I guess next slide.
Yeah, sure. I want to introduce
Go ahead, Giacomo. I'd love to learn a bit more about it.
You can see my face. It's quite a long time ago, actually. I've been in China for more than 5 years now. So this was quite similar, but a different hairstyle, let's say. And what we do now here at HR1 is more helping foreign companies to manage HR and payroll, and actually them also to hire employees in China. So
and you're specifically in Shanghai, right? Just for those not familiar.
Yeah, we are based in Shanghai.
Actually, it's I don't want to pick favorites, but Shanghai is, I think, my favorite city in China, even though I'm in Shenzhen. I don't know about Rose. Rose, you have a favorite city?
Yeah, Shanghai. I love it better than Shenzhen.
Yeah.
It just feels different.
It is.
Here, everybody is trying to make business, and it's all about it.
Zach is saying Chengdu, huh? Yeah, Chengdu is a really relaxed, beautiful city. I've been there a couple of times. I met Zach there. Just some small talk, make things fun. Catherine loves Shanghai. Yeah, we're getting some chats. Thanks, everybody. I mean, we're doing this live. All this will be there will be a recording, but just benefit being here live is some engagements. But yeah, Giacomo is up in Shanghai. It's a great place. So you have the agenda. Let's discuss what are we going to talk about today.
Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit the risk of when building a business in China, and then introduce all the aspect of the PO EOR. I will talk about later about the difference why PO EOR, and actually why and when is the best solution to use a PER instead of a traditional way of opening a company. And then in the end, I will talk a little bit more about the procedure to use this kind of solution. But before talking about that, before talking about the risk, I want to talk about one specific thing, that is China is still very attractive for companies. This chart shows the FDI inflows for the last 10 years in China. And as we can see, especially in 2020, there was a big jump from 141 to 149 billion dollars. So this also shows that China is still an attractive destination for foreign companies that want to invest. But recent data show that this year, from January to July, there are the foreign direct investment flows rose by 25%. So only from January to July. So still during COVID, and last year, especially during COVID, we saw a big increase on the foreign direct investment. But this is not only one reason why China is still attractive. We know and we saw many times that the consumer class here in China, Chinese consumers, are kind of rising. Especially the middle class now has more income, more money to spend on different products and services. And also there is, in general, a stable government and a stable regulatory environment that in the years helped a lot of companies to enter China with, for example, tax breaks or financial incentives for companies. But of course, now there are more uncertainties when you want to come to China. COVID is probably the top one. As we in China, especially last year, in the rest of the world during 2020 and 2021, COVID was a big problem. Not only for the cases itself, but the impossibilities to enter China. As you told me before, you were trying to have a company to register a WUFI, but they cannot come. That's a big problem now. Companies cannot come in China, they cannot get the visa, and it's very hard in this way to start a business. That's the main problem. The other kind of problem is we know the trade war between the US and China that started in 2018. And these, influence a lot the economy and also actually other countries too, that they started to realize that maybe there was some problem between these countries and they weren't motivated to come. So these are some of the uncertainties, big uncertainties now that there are in China when you want to start a business.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our friends can't come back in. They have businesses, they have, relationships. You probably know people too. I think it's been a real big issue for all of the community across business, international business. Yeah. So, you can say China too, but I think globally, business outside of your home country is becoming more and more challenging, as well as, of course, in China too.
Yeah. Except for this, of course, there are some other challenges in China. One of these is the market access. Let's say that it's true that there are some, the government did a lot of things for the regulatory requirements to help companies, but sometimes these regulations are still difficult to understand for companies, and sometimes that can be problematic for companies to understand. Maybe they cannot enter a particular industry or particular sector. Laws and regulations are another big challenge, especially when you open a company. You have a lot of rules to follow. For tax and accounting, you have a lot of rules that are specific to China, and it makes difficult, sometimes, and challenging to have a good kind of a business, a normal business. And also, when you want to manage sales and distribution, you need to find the right distribution channel in China. And sometimes if you don't have an access to the market, you cannot do from outside. It's not easy. It's really complicated, very complicated.
Agreed.
Some government issues, companies in the past, they had some problems, as I said, especially related to the market access. Not in all the industries, companies can easily enter and access the market. That's something that, is not helpful for companies that maybe sell particular products, and they cannot do that in China. And HR and payroll is actually one of the top challenges for companies. Not only the parts related to finding talents here in China, but also all everything that surrounds HR, from paying the salaries, dealing with the social benefits, dealing with paying the taxes. This is specific to China. It's not that you, for example, if you're in Italy or if you're in US, you think I go to China and I will find the same environment also from this perspective. No, that is a completely different, because of the rules, because of the language, and different requirements for the country. And sometimes, many times, it actually is difficult for companies to understand this part. The last challenge is high competition. Now the competition is really massive in China. Many companies, they want to enter. Many companies are already here that they sell products and services. And also Chinese companies also is a kind of a competition that foreign companies are also facing. And in this graph too, I want to show the top challenge is especially what I say, the HR related challenges. Finding candidates here, dealing with HR, dealing with payroll. It's something really stressful for companies. That's what we found out.
For sure, man. HR is issue everywhere, but especially in China, like there's a lot of local differences and cultural differences. For sure. Something we see a lot.
Yeah.
Can we take a question? I don't want to interrupt too much, but sure. Zach is asking I don't know if I could also comment, but about the vaccine, if they're going to open up sooner, we think, or not. I don't know if you have an idea about that. I mean, I have some idea.
But yeah, I have some ideas. And it's hard to say. It's always hard to say, because with this kind of situation, we never know when the policy to enter China again will be relaxed. That is really, I don't want to say tomorrow, I don't want to say next month, I don't want to say next year, because it's really, I think, impossible to know this thing. I don't know if you agree with me, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing from people, and there's some people in the room, in the studio here might also have answers, but I've been hearing for some reason May is the earliest possible. That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't verify that, but
next year. I would say next year.
Okay, so anyways, thanks for that. Let's move. You're a great presentation.
Yeah. So what is a POR? And now it works.
Yeah, how does it work?
A PO is a professional employer organization. Basically, why I put the differentiation PO, EOR. In China, actually, this differentiation doesn't exist. In other countries, you can see that PO and EOR are two similar solutions, but a little bit different. PO is more kind of a co-employment, like the company and the PO, both are employer of the employee. The employer record, only the actual employer record is the final employer. The client company, the company that assigned the task to the employee, is not the legal employer in the country. But in China, this differentiation doesn't exist. PO and EOR are seen in the same way. That's why I use this terminology. Usually, I guess it's more used in US in that kind of system.
Okay.
Basically, what a PO does is an employee solution for companies that want to hire staff in China. And not only it takes care of the hiring part, but also all the surrounding of the hiring part and the relationship between employer and employee. HR, payroll, social benefits, taxes, visa processing, everything, employment contract, everything related to that area, HR and payroll. Now, how it works.
Can I clarify? Do you mind? I just help clarify. Make sure I'm correct. I'll sometimes I'll be just make sure I'm clear. So that means the PEO is not the client. The client, like if I'm a company listening today, I would work with a PEO. I don't become a PEO. I'm looking for a PEO.
Correct.
Right. I don't form a PEO.
No. You as a client of a company, you use the PEO, so kind of agency.
Yeah.
That he becomes the PEO. That is the PEO.
Got it.
And that becomes the legal employer in the country for the employee.
Got it. So I'm the business owner listening today, and I want to hire somebody in China. Maybe this is one option, is to find a PEO, but I wouldn't.
Correct.
I wouldn't set up a PEO. I would find a PEO to work.
No, correct. Why I say this? Because basically, the traditional method of opening a company usually takes more time and more money to open. Like it requires a big investment, because most of the time, it takes like 3-4 months to register, and if you don't have problem with the registration process, otherwise it's even more. And, the PEO basically, it allows you to start a business without setting up a local company. If you someone else, you use a PEO, an agency, to help you with all these parts related to HR, payroll, hiring employees. That is kind of troublesome sometimes, many times for the company.
But just to clarify again, sorry, it's for HR, not for selling. Like I couldn't sell in China with this.
I
could hire, but I can't sell.
You cannot sell, but you can hire employees to sell. That's the thing. I will go later to
okay,
this
sorry, I don't want to interrupt. It's great though.
Explain more. Basically, what PEO handles are all the aspect of human resources. So, like usually the PEO is expert in laws and regulation of the country. In this case, China, and so it can assure that all the companies that are operating in the country are compliant with the law, especially regarding labor contracts and all the employment aspects. And it also manages payroll, not only manage the payment of the salary, but also handling all the mandatory benefits like social security, individual income tax deduction, payment of annual bonus, overtime payment, all these aspects related to payroll. And what actually does too is, in case you have foreigners that you want to hire, you can also have the visa processing. So it can help you to visa for foreigners. But it's a big but for this, because now in China it's also not easy to get visa for foreigners. So that's something that the PO cannot go over the law. Basically, if there is a general law that say that it's complicated to get visa, it requires more effort, the PO cannot go over the law. I mean, it has to respect the regulation of the country in this way. So yeah, basically this one, it just explain what I just said. Two aspects that I want to put in evidence are the labor contracts and the social benefits. These are usually two complicated aspects for companies, but mandatory, and if you make mistakes on this part, then you can have problems with the governments and with the government in China. So for the labor contracts, for example, you have a series of mandatory elements to include. There are the employee and employer information with all the ID number, address. Then you have to include the remuneration, so the monthly basic salary, bonus, commissions, the responsibilities of the employee, working hours, leaves, employment period. These are all aspects that if you don't include these, and then you create a kind of employment relationship with a candidate, then you can have a problem. So this is to avoid all the risk. But this is something that the PO actually can take care of. Also drafting the labor contract between the employee and actually the PO in this case. Another aspect is the social benefits. This is a big part of especially the payroll in China. I don't know if you know something about social benefits. If you have employees, then you need to consider this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'd love to get some employees want this, some don't want this. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Like
they have to, but
it's mandatory. It's mandatory. Yeah, it's mandatory.
Cash.
It's mandatory. These actually the social benefits in China include the social insurance and the housing fund, pension insurance, medical, unemployment, work injury, and maternity. That the employer has to pay everything. That's for sure. Some of them are also contributed by the employee.
Yeah, some they pay. I remember.
Yeah, but it's mandatory. If you don't do that, then you can have really, really big problem.
Yeah.
And
What?
When is the best solution to use the PO? Now that's why I want to go back to what you told me before, selling in China. It's actually very useful, the PO, in this kind of solution. Selling in China, especially if you sell products to other companies. If you operate in the B2B market and you don't need to invoice in China, so you don't need to pay in renminbi, this is the solution for you to hire employees to manage all your sales in China. And the invoice, then you can invoice basically from your country. Like, for example, you have a US company, you want to sell some product, specific product to other companies in China. You could go with the traditional way of opening a company, but then you will have a lot of risks, and then you will have to spend a lot of time and money to opening a company like that. Or with the PEO, you can actually hire employees here, and they can manage this for you. So they are responsible of all the selling in China to other companies. And this will allow you to reduce all the risk that company formation can bring. Because the only risk that you can have is related to the labor contract, the contract that you have with the employee, the relationship that you have with the employee. And it's a very cost-effective solution because, as I said, you don't need to set up a company, but you can still invoice from your own country. So this is one way that you can use it's the best solution sometimes to use the PO in this case. Another one is sourcing from China. Again, this is especially for many companies dealing with the e-commerce. They need to source product from China. Now, I think in the audience probably there is someone.
There's a lot of us that are.
It's pretty common for companies, especially if you work with e-commerce. And again, opening a WUFI, it can be problematic. Can take a lot of time. You can reduce this time. You can reduce the risk. Again, hiring employees that basically will source the product from you. So they will visit factories, they can do quality control, they can manage the relationship with the factories. And in this way, you will reduce almost to zero the business risks. Like you have only that employment relationship to manage.
Yeah.
But except that, you don't have any other risk.
Yeah, it's a great hack, right? Because a lot of people want to have a company. If you're just hiring people, there used to be a rep office, but that's also very expensive.
And also very expensive. Office. Correct.
That's even more expensive.
It always creates some more problems that in the future, maybe if you want to close the company, or I don't know, if you have problems with the government, that is something that you want to avoid, especially because in your mind you had only the idea of I will go to China. I only need to source product. I don't want to have a lot of businesses in China. I need that to source product. So that's why I think in this way, reduce all the risks related to opening a company.
And, I'm just trying to help add some, a lot of, I don't want to help. I know we have a lot of our friends in the community that are sourcing agents or QC agents, but I mean, this is also if you're big enough, you could save money by hiring people instead of using services if you're doing enough volume, and then you don't even need to have a company either. So it does sound like a a good hack.
The other two ways are testing the Chinese market. This is especially for maybe startups, small companies that they don't want to invest at the beginning all the money in opening a company because they don't know the market. So what they can do again is hire someone here that can conduct market research, or someone that can understand better the country, how it works. And in this way, again, if you then after that, if you're not satisfied with the market, if you think it's not the best solution for you, you can always take a step back and say, okay, I don't have a company, I just close the employment relationship, and that's it. I finished my adventure in China. Of course, then if you want to do something more, maybe then you can think about opening a company or structure that in a different way. And the last thing is, if you want to hire local talent, if you want to hire employees here because you are already in China, or because you need employees, you maybe have a branch office. If you need to hire contractors, freelancers, so some kind of all kind of talents that you have in mind. And with the PO, you don't have to open a company. You don't have that risk anymore. Opening a company, going through the procedure that takes time and money. And so in some of the pros and cons of using a PO is like, as I said, there's really low risk in using this kind of solution. You can basically go away when you want, instead of opening a company that then you have to go through the process of closure and all the tax and accounting stuff. And it's a flexible solution because, again, you can hire new employees. You have only that kind of employment relationship to manage. You don't have all the other stuff. Plus, you will have a guarantee of HR compliance and a better communication with government, because usually the PO, the agencies, they are expert in HR and payroll. So they know how to deal with government. They know all the policies. They know how to declare taxes, how to pay the social benefits, all this kind of stuff. That is usually a really big problem for companies. But of course, the cost, there are some costs that is, for example, it's not so secure for the employee because the PO becomes the legal employer. So the employee feels kind of detached from the original company. Like, okay, I am in contact with you, but you're not my legal employer anymore. If you understand what I mean, like this is kind of detachment from the company.
Yeah.
It's hard to develop the local brand because your company is not here. So, if you want to, do some events, show maybe the opening shops or show your products, it can become a little bit more complicated to develop the local brand. And it's especially recently it's hard to hire foreign employees because of the visa policies. That's the biggest problem of this current situation.
Can I ask you, Rose, what do you think of this as like a local Chinese? If you were to have an opportunity, do you think Chinese would prefer or have a difference of a PEO versus like directly with the company?
As a Chinese?
Yeah.
I would have a direct company.
Rather?
Well, I think it also depends on the business itself and the model, and also the size. So if it is at a testing period, so probably hire, PO is easier. But if it's something that we set our mind to do and we're confident, then we just set up a company. Because as a Chinese, if we set up a company in China, it's actually quite easy, especially in China. The cost is almost nothing.
For Chinese, but I guess this is more
for Chinese. For foreigners is always a little bit complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult, I guess, everywhere for foreigners.
Everywhere, but especially now.
I think especially here, it's not as easy in China for foreigners to open up.
Yeah, for foreigners, I think it's easy to hire freelancers at the very beginning, and then a PEO, and then and then later you can set up a new company of your own if needed.
Yeah.
But these days, a lot of these businesses are relatively small, so
True.
Not necessary to do that.
So
So
the last part is about how to use a PO. Basically, it's what a PO does for the company. Usually, the client company identifies the candidate to hire. If you know someone that you want to hire, you present this person to the PO agency, and the PO verifies if there is a eligibility for the employment, like checking the CV, background check, all this kind of pre-onboarding procedure. And then the PO hires the employee for you, basically sign the employment contract for you. It manages all the onboarding part, while the employer, the client company, manages the daily task of the employee. So communication between the employee and employer is about the daily task. All the other part, onboarding, and then especially later HR and payroll, are managed by the PO. And the PO is also responsible of all the communication with the government. For example, if there are labor disputes, some kind of problem with the government, the PO can support in the company.
That's very important in China.
Yeah, it is very important. And again, the PO is responsible for the compliance and handles all the employment issues. And only in case of termination, the employer has the cost. So you have to pay the cost for termination, and the PO handles all the termination process. So
Mike,
basically, in the end, is you client, you company, you just manage the employee. The rest is managed by the PO.
is there must be some kind of security deposit that the employer pays to the PEO, right? Must be.
Yeah, correct. There is a deposit because in case, because the PO then has to pay the salary to the employee. So in case, for example, the employer, client company disappears, they don't want to pay. The PO still has the responsibility to pay the employee, because otherwise then it can have problem with only the relationship between employee and PO, but only with the government. If you don't pay the salary, that's a big problem. So that's it for today. That was the end.
So Giacomo, thank you so much for sharing. You're up in Shanghai, HR1, doing digital marketing. For those that see the slide, that's your email. But maybe just for the audio, we'll also have an audio version of this. So maybe if you want to just share any kind of contact information.
For any question, you can visit our website, hr1.com, or get in touch with me at giacomo.verde@hr1.com, or easier way, info@hr1.com. Maybe it's easier to remember.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. I think we have some time for questions. Maybe turn off slide share and make it roundtable form. So is there any I have questions, but if there's questions from the people tuning in live for Giacomo, I think that was really great. Honestly, I learned some new things. I kind of feel like I wish I knew this. This is the only thing about this, Rose. Sometimes I learn stuff I wish I knew like 10 years ago.
You got a company in China.
I know. I set up a Woofy. It was a lot of work. Oh, Michael's saying, okay, sport can be useful for seasonal, right? Seasonality.
For seasonality too, if you need to hire employees for maybe 3 months, 6 months, just for a project, PO is the best solution, because otherwise you have to go through the company. One important thing that probably I didn't say is like, to hire employees, you need to have a legal entity. You cannot hire without that. So there are two ways: or you create the Woofy, or you hire a PO. That's the only way. Otherwise, everything is illegal, and that is a big problem.
Otherwise, everything is, what was that?
Illegal.
Oh, illegal. Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to scare people, but I had, sorry. I've had HR issues in the past, and I think employees know they have rights. I mean, they do, and sometimes the employer is not good to the employee, but sometimes the employee also tries, I think, sometimes to take advantage of opportunities. So sometimes the employee will say, "We don't need to sign a contract. We don't need, no need. We save money," but then later 3 months, 6 months, a year later, you terminate the agreement, then they're like, oh, you need to pay me a severance. You got to pay me, right? And then you're like, okay, I'll pay you 1 month, 2 months. They're like, no, you. they say if you don't pay, they can really get you in trouble if they go to the labor department and they say that this foreign company is not paying taxes, not paying me with the contract. They won't say it was me that suggested that or I agreed. They'll just say the employer, they're trying to not do these illegal, and it's not the employee's fault. It's the employer's fault. Correct, so there'll be some penalties, right? It can be a big problem.
Correct. That's a big problem.
Oh, that could happen.
Yeah, there's a question from Zach in the chat. Thanks, Zach. He's always got good questions. I'll just read it out loud for those. Could an employer employ an employee via PEO initially, then bring the employee fully on board, bypassing PEO?
There is a kind of solution that you can, especially, if your idea then is to open a company. What you can do is at the beginning, at the first stage, you hire the employee with the PO. Then, of course, if you open a company here, you can transfer all the employment relationship to your new company, to your new WUFI. That is possible to do that.
So yeah, it's possible, Zach. I mean, I think probably though, Giacomo's company would definitely help you do that, but I guess you probably should also ask any PEO. Some might not do that, maybe. I think that's, or Giacomo,
we do that. We help,
or is that something like a policy?
We help also in transferring the employees. It's something really common. I mean, if they don't do that, I don't see why. We know without any problem. It's like just transferring employment relationship to the new company.
Is there a process involved in terms of cost or any other process to transfer the employee over?
Transfer the employee over. Well, usually there is a cost when you transfer. For the procedure, there's no actually no special things to do actually for the This is a normal process.
Thanks.
Okay. Great. So again, like I said, this is a double header night. This is the webinar, which I think we're basically wrapping up now. I mean, unless there's last couple of questions. And then in a few more minutes, we'll have our mastermind for members, GFA VIP only. But first, I just want to make sure we wrap this one up, but I'm just kind of making sure people are aware of that.
I do have another question, actually.
Any final questions for Giacomo? I really appreciate it. Yes. I know he prepared a lot for this, and you could tell. I mean, you can see the research and the data. So I really appreciate that. And my last question is, Giacomo.
I think Zach has another.
Yeah, I think Mike's connection.
Sorry. Thank you.
Giacomo, I don't know how relevant this is it's probably not very relevant to PEO, but I was wondering how legal it is to hire Chinese people as contractors directly from, say, a foreign country to them without being in China itself.
I mean, we can hire, a PEO can hire
so just
in China can hire other contractors in other countries.
I think
not PEO per se. But
yeah, go ahead, Zach.
So for a UK, US based company, could they hire legally contractors based in China without using PEO or any China regulation?
No, that's the problem. Again, if you don't have a company or you don't use a PEO, it becomes illegal because it's always, the Chinese law protects the employee. So if you don't have a contract that protects them, it becomes illegal. That's the main problem.
Okay.
There's no other way except opening a company, a WUFI, or through a PEO.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rose wants to say, of course, if they're like a freelancer or a consultant,
it's like
that might be able to kind of, but still, I think it's not really legal to China.
It's not legal
maybe
in this way,
an independent contractor.
If they don't have a contract, they cannot join the social insurance.
Yeah, they definitely can't get any benefits, any government benefits.
Just like a contract in English, and so the law is subject to the local law, meaning the employer's country's law.
Correct.
So that happens. Is
That's
that
very
legal?
helpful.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
They can do this.
Like
That's
for
helpful.
example,
Thank you.
a company in the USA.
Yeah, like they, of course they can kind of hire, but they will not have access to social insurance. And again, if the employee then maybe you finish the relationship with the employee, and the employee goes again to the labor bureau and says, "Oh, the employer didn't pay me anything," then can be a problem for your company.
It is. It is.
That's the thing.
To be honest, I had that experience before, and then I didn't get paid. Yeah.
That's the thing.
I mean, that's a long time ago when I was like,
Oh, since you contact the labor department?
no, I figure that's an English content. The law was the employer's country's law.
That cannot help with that.
That's very helpful. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you so much for this, and this will be on the podcast next week. We'll have a URL and everything for people, but it's great to have it live. And thank you, Giacomo, for
Thank you
sharing,
very much.
and Rose for me today. That's great, and the attendees. So, yeah, I think we have his contact. We'll put the show notes. You'll see it on the show notes on the website for any information you might need. And I think we'll take a quick 5-10 minute break for the next session, for those that are in for it. And thank you so much again, Giacomo, and HR1.
Thank you very much.
HR1.com. All right. Thank you, Giacomo. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, people tuning in live to the show, a webinar. I'm exhausted. I'm telling you right now. I mean, I landed at 3 o'clock in the morning on like a Thursday in Shenzhen airport in a rainstorm with 2 kids. And well, my wife is the strongest one probably out of all of us. She's keeping us going sometimes, but we, and then elevator was broke. I think I might be glad about this last episode maybe, but it's been intense, so intense. But that office, obviously in China, the government, everybody follows the government. Government wants to do something, government throws money at it, government gives you free stuff. There was some I met somebody with I think 30 million Douyin followers or fans. And her English is good too. Maybe she can be a guest in the show. Actually, I met her 10 years ago at another event. This is, I guess, my guanxi. I meet people and they remember me, and we have these, few actually there. It's a pretty awesome little office of creators, and I guess I would call myself a creator and artist. I'm not really a business person, so maybe it's a good home for me. Talking to some people about Amazon stuff there, the kind of acquisitions, the various trends of the Amazon shutdowns of Chinese sellers, etc., etc. So probably be there more. I guess I'll do more shows there live. And we also had our GFA VIP member call. Thank you, members, for supporting this show as well. These are ways to support these show and this content if you enjoy it. There's the sponsors like Mercury, there's the members like GFA VIP. Those are ways that have kept the lights on with the show, although it is an act of love. I love what I do. I hope you love listening to this while you are in the blah 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 session, so you can just stop now if you feel like it. Nothing you're gonna learn here. But I don't know, I just feel like such full circle back to here. We've all been thrust a roller coaster of our lives. I just met somebody who's liquidating his wine sales in China for like rock bottom prices, and Wendy and I met him in his warehouse, and 2 Chinese friends of Wendy bought a bunch of cartons off of him, did some deal with WeChat in a warehouse. And he's like saying how much his life and business and everything has changed. So we're all going through massive change. And, probably going to have an office in China again. Probably going to hire some people in an office in China. Maybe it'll be a free office as a perk. I paid before. So that might be a perk, and maybe more content there. I mean, I'm in my comfort zone here in my little apartment behind closed doors. No screaming kids. They're actually out with Wendy, so I get some quiet time. But probably will make more shows in that studio. I mean, man, I don't know how much thousands of dollars that equipment costs, and there's like 6 different rooms of all this high-end streaming equipment, so can get creative, and it makes it more fun. When you're on the spotlight, you got lights on, you got like 6 people looking at you in the studio, you got a screen of people on a live webinar, you got a live guest. I mean, I don't know. I hope you enjoyed the show the same. I mean, there was slides, so it might make more sense if you're watching it in YouTube or on our... We actually have a iTunes video podcast. I think it works. I hope it works. But yeah, I think, I love content. Actually, there's a bunch of other updates. There's lots of other updates. Through a partnership, we've invested in Shenzhen Party, or now Shenzhen.com. Actually, Brent was on the show at least once or twice here in Global from Asia. I'm not sure if he still listens, but I hope he does. Maybe he does. So that's a transition. We're probably going to have like a training center in Shenzhen, probably going to do some kind of e-commerce incubator. We were doing all the aggregator stuff. We're working with factories on routers for a hardware project on crowdfunding. I mean, there's just so much happening. It's overwhelming. I mean, Frederick at China Imports Hall shot me a message. What am I up to? I guess I'm probably gonna have like a half-hour show just talking about the different businesses that I'm doing now. It's like freaking nuts, but it's all mostly working somewhat. I mean, and I think we need to kind of open up the book and let some of the people in the community here, like, maybe get involved. I think we're at that point. Maybe that should be an upcoming show or a live stream. But, Rose is amazing. We'll get her more involved. There's obviously our amazing team in the Philippines and around the world with Shadstone, LJ, Stephanie helping making the show happen. And there's just so many amazing people supporting, but we need even more. There's limitless amount of opportunity. And, we're probably going to have, of course, the online team. Don't worry if you're listening. Alvin, you're amazing. Obviously, we have our amazing online team, but there's probably going to start to be more of this offline Shenzhen office, Shenzhen team, Shenzhen events and streaming, and I'm trying my best to try to balance online and offline. I love connecting people through content and events and 3 C's. A buddy and a mentor, Jeff, gave me 3 C's: content, community, and consulting. That's what I gotta do. So a lot of me's in this right now, but I want to share more with you. Maybe, I don't know. There's so many guests coming up. There's so much content coming up. I mean, I'm probably going to be hitting the road. Maybe I'll invite them over to that studio instead of going to their office. But there's some places I want to show you around. I'm thinking about doing like an update on Shenzhen or update on China after COVID. People ask me to do videos. We've got mikesblog.com, our vlog, or of course on YouTube. But I prefer websites. Just so much happening. So I hope this is helpful to you. You could always skip this blah 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 session, but that's it. I'm beat. I'm probably gonna take an early night. Sometimes you gotta just do that, especially now with this post-COVID world. We're going through massive transformations, and I think getting a good night's rest is important to that. Take care of your health, take care of your mental health. Unfortunately, there's been suicides and like depression across the board. I didn't commit suicide, but I've been through depression this last year and a half. I think a lot of you have. It's something we don't talk about, but we just got to realize we're all going through hard times. There's lots of opportunity. Use this as a time to reinvent yourself, reinvent your business, reinvent your relationships and everything. If there's ever a better excuse to tell somebody something's changing, is COVID. So use that to our advantage. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening all the way through the end of this blah, blah, blah session. globalfromasia.com/no company. Hiring people in China without a company, which actually I think I recommend. I wouldn't. I mean, and of course, it depends on your long-term goals, but it seems like it makes sense for the short-term. Giacomo seems like a really nice guy. So thanks for sharing that amazing stuff with us, and wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.